What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here of the Bengals Crypt podcast. Going to get into week 2 stuff here. One second, let me flip this angle on them. Yeah, because that glare was kind of crazy. All right, so we're getting into week 2. Obviously, I did my short earlier saying who I thought would win tonight. I was correct. The Packers got the win number 2 on the season. So we're starting 1-0 on the week. I guess since we're talking about that, we'll go ahead and jump right into our week 2 game predictions. Yes, it was a rough day for the offense, but we're gonna hold on. We're gonna get back on track. Bengals win. That's where I'm going with it. I think we're gonna be able to get the win, and I mean, the Jaguars did their defense look pretty solid, but we've had their number in the last few years, so I think we'll be all right. Giants Cowboys is a pretty easy one in my opinion. I'm going Cowboys. They had a really good game against the Eagles last week. Just CD dropped some passes like they really could have beat the Eagles. So I think they'll be able to get a pretty solid win over the Giants. It'll be close probably, but I think, the Commanders handled business there, and I think the Cowboys are going to be able to do the same. Let us see. Bears, Lions. I got the Lions. There's no way the Bears recover from that choke this week. I think Caleb Williams does look improved from year 1 to year 2, but he still has to work on his composure. Like his end of game composure was terrible. He really started missing passes. He started to get frustrated, and it all went downhill from there. And the Lions are not as bad as they looked last week. Their personnel, their hold on, their player personnel is pretty much the same. So it's like there's no way. All right, Rams Titans. I got the Rams. M Ward actually looked pretty good. I think he's very accurate. It's just the receivers weren't catching the ball. His receivers catching the ball, they win that game against the Broncos. And, the fact that they were almost able to do that against defense of that caliber, the Rams defense is going to get some good pass rush on Cam Ward again. So I think it's going to be another close game. And the Titans might actually score. I'm pretty sure they didn't score a single touchdown last week. I think it was just a field goal fest. Yeah. So I think Cam Ward's going to get his first touchdown in that game against LA. But I got LA winning it. I got the Patriots over the Dolphins. I really don't know on this one yet. I just think the Patriots, with what we saw from the Dolphins last week, you can't say they're going to beat the Patriots. They got smoked by a team that I think most people think should be pretty bad. And the Patriots have, I mean, their run D is good. Pass defense is a little suspect based off of last week, but it was Geno, and he's pretty good quarterback, so we'll have to see. But I got the Pats in that one. Even without Brock Purdy and George Kittle, I got the 49ers beating the Saints. I think the Saints are just garbage. They did pretty good against the Cardinals, but that won't continue. There's no way. Now, maybe that's just the hater in me, but I do not believe in the Saints this year, so that's kind of the direction I'm leaning right now. Now, they beat the 49ers with that defense. You got to start talking about them like they're, not as bad as we think. But I think last week was fluke. Bills Jets. Beginning of the season, I thought this game would be hot trash Got the Bills winning it, but the Jets are going to be competitive. They're going to keep it. They're they're going to put up a lot of points. So the Bills are going to be in another shootout. Their defense looks suspect, and Justin Fields is a Lamar prototype with a better arm. Well, I won't say better arm. Better arm in his point of his career than Lamar was at the same point in his career. Seahawks getting the win over Pittsburgh. I think just the way their defense played this last week with how bad the Steelers defense looked against the Jets. And that might just be, the Jets being a better team and much improved and actually having an offense now. But at the same time, I got to look at it, the Steelers defense gave up a lot. And I think Sam Darnold is going to be able to get it done with the running backs in that room. And even with, Cooper Kupp not being like what he was with the Rams, I just don't see the Steelers being able to hold them in check. I mean, obviously the Steelers defense won them the game, but they gave up mad points. Is what I'm looking at when I say their defense was bad. Browns, Ravens. I got the Ravens. Yes, they choked, but the Browns are hot garbage. They're not beating the Ravens. I don't even have to explain that any further. You do have the Broncos over the Colts. Danny Dimes, he lived up to his nickname. He was going crazy, but now he's going to play an actual defense, and I think we're going to see it fall apart because the Dolphins are just in shambles. Now, if they play good against the Broncos defense, because we saw, like I said last week, Cam Ward was accurate. So if Danny Dimes can be accurate and consistent, they could win this game based off what we saw last week. But is the Colts defense as good as um, the Titans? Hard to say. Hard to say on that. They're both mediocre. But the Colts also have old Bengals defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, so he's pretty good with his schemes he comes up with. So if they're able to do a little bit, they might be able to sneak out a win here. But I'm going the Broncos. Going with a major sleeper, Panthers over Cardinals. And this is kind of going off of like my Saints is trash or the Saints are trash kind of thing. And the Cardinals almost lost them. So, and I'm already like, Bryce Young did not play well this week. My hot take was a very much a hot take. But I think he's going to be good. He's just got to get into the groove of the season a little bit. And I think this is a weaker opponent that he can go out and show out against and then get that confidence going for the rest of the season. So I got the Panthers in this one. We'll see if I'm a fool, but yeah. Then the Super Bowl rematch, I got the Eagles beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs just kind of, I don't know. Their drop issues returned. Mahomes wasn't super accurate. He'll get timing and everything with his receivers over the course of the season, but right now, I don't think they're going to be able to beat a defense of that caliber, especially if they couldn't beat them when they're at their prime last season in the Super Bowl. Different defense from the Super Bowl to now, but it's similar. You got the Vikings over the Falcons. I think the Vikings showed some good things. McCarthy got his confidence up in that comeback victory. But I think the Falcons are going to keep it tight. This is not going to be like a clear-cut game. It's going to be an exciting one for sure on Sunday night. Back-to-back primetime games for the Vikings as well, which is interesting. I got the Bucks over the Bucks D line is just going to overwhelm CJ Stroud, and then the Bucks offense is already like good. So if they utilize their weapons right and they just be consistent, they'll win the game pretty easily. Then I got the Chargers over the Raiders. I think the Raiders showed flashes, but the running game looked weak. The passing game looked crazy. But is the defense going to be able to hold up against a better offense with Justin Herbert looked pretty solid last week. So, they beat the Chiefs, but like I said, the Chiefs kind of beat themselves. It's hard to say on that one. And just so y'all can see and confirm, I did say Green Bay would beat the Commanders, and they did 1-0. Let's go. So the record last week was 10-6. Let's see. Yep, 10-6 last week. We're starting 1-0 this week. I'm hoping, we can go crazy, but we shall see on that front. Very minor stat update from the Bengal game. Let's see. Joe Burrow got one touchdown, so he tied with somebody. So I'm not even going to say he moved up. Um, Same thing with Trey Hendrickson. He had one sack, tied with somebody. Whatever. Let's see. Chase Brown moved up to 26th in rushing touchdowns. He surpassed Craig Taylor, Fred Willis, and Archie Griffin, who had 7 touchdowns, and Chase Brown now has 8 rushing touchdowns. And then the only other person to move up at all for Bengals all time was T. Higgins with his 30 yards. He passed Bob Trumpy to go into 12th place all time receiving yards for the Bengals, which is cool. We like that. We like that a lot. That is it. Well, obviously Noah Fant had a touchdown, but we're not going to name the 100 players that had 0 touchdowns that he passed. Um, let's see. Who's next? We're going to hold off on the QB rankings and do them every 2 weeks. That way I have a bigger pool to kind of move people, because I don't want to do drastic, Joe Burrow would drop like a rock. But if he throws, then I'm trying to figure out how to move him back. So, I want to give a couple weeks performance to see where they're actually at. And then we'll do week 2 or week 1 we did. Then we'll do week 3, 5, 7, so on. So we got through the weekly predictions and the stats. I got a hot take. Let's go. We're gonna go game by game and give a hot take. Jags Bengals defense comes up with another 2 turnovers for the Bengals. The Bengals get 2 turnovers. I'm gonna say one's gonna be a fumble, one's gonna be a pick. That's a hot take. The defense is, it looked okay. I think if it wasn't for penalties, the first drive that the Browns got a touchdown on would not have gone as far. They kept getting third down penalties that extended the drive. So I think the defense actually looked even better than you realize. But the run D was great, which is amazing. But it's also the Browns, so we're gonna have to see more. Giants, Cowboys. Man. All right. Russell Wilson throws 0 touchdowns again, and he throws 2 picks. No, he throws 1 pick. And he's going to end up getting benched for Jackson Dart in the fourth quarter. Calling it right now. It's going to happen, y'all. Bears Lions. The Bears defense holds the Lions under 100 rushing yards. I think the Lions, they looked really bad running last week against a much better defense, but I think the Bears defense showed some things as well. So another week of under 100 rushing yards for the Detroit Lions. Rams Titans. I kind of already gave mine. It's very much related to Cam Ward. I did say he would throw his first career touchdown, but I'm also going. He hasn't thrown a pick either. I'm going to go out there and say that 250 a touchdown, and then obviously I already said they might win, but I'm predicting them to lose, so I'm not going to throw into my hot take that they win the game. You know what I mean? That don't make sense. Patriots Dolphins. Let's see. Tyreek Hill goes for over 150. And here's my thinking, right? The Patriots defense is good. But Tyreek is going to get upset. So he's going to get more targets. And then also, can't think of his name. Gonzo is out. I'm pretty sure Christian Gonzalez is out for the game again. So it's like, who are you actually covering this man with? So I think Tyreek's going to go for 150. 49ers Saints. It's going to be Mac Jones related. Mac Jones throws for over 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, while Christian McCaffrey's held under 100 again. That's my prediction right there, my hot take. Bills Jets. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and say that both quarterbacks rush for over 50 yards and a touchdown. No, this has to be a hot take. 75 yards and a touchdown. I think, because, you look at Fields. He only had 48 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns last week. So you'd have to up it. And then Allen only ran it 14. He ran it 14 times for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the touchdown part of it, should be a given, but the yards aspect of it with how low they were last week, I think that's a pretty good hot take. Seahawks Steelers. DK goes for over 102 touchdowns against his former team, and they still lose. Browns Ravens. Okay. I'm going to say, Browns hold the Ravens rushing offense under 150 rushing yards. But that's the Ravens, okay? Derrick Henry alone had that much. Now you're adding Henry and Lamar, but they played pretty good run defense against us, I want to say. Not initially, the Browns did, but over time it got better over the course of the game. So I think the Ravens will start hot running the ball, but then they will cool off just like we did. Broncos Colts. Daniel Jones does it again. 4 touchdowns, 300 passing yards. Panthers Cardinals. Touchdown and 2 picks for Bryce Young. Only 154 yards, 18 for 35. Don't know that I trust the hot take on their side. Bryce Young doesn't throw a pick. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Eagles Chiefs hot take. I'm gonna do one for each side. Well, each technically, yeah. So the Eagles hot take is Saquon will be held under 100 with no touchdowns this week. He only had 60 and 1 touchdown last week, so it might not be too crazy. And then for the Chiefs, let's go. Mahomes throws 3 touchdowns passing. Yep, 3 passing touchdowns. And his receivers only drop 3 passes. And I mean drops, not incompletions. I mean drops. That's a hot take right there. Falcons Vikings. Man. Gonna go with McCarthy here. He's gonna end up throwing 350, 2 touchdowns, no picks. It's really just the yards number that's the question mark here, because he only threw for 143 and only had 20 pass attempts. So hitting 350 with only 20 pass attempts is going to be pretty hard. So I think that's why that's a bit of a hot take. He only threw 20 passes? That's crazy to me. Bucks, Texans. Stroud didn't throw a single touchdown last week. With how good the Bucks defense is, we're gonna say Stroud only sacked 2 times or less and throws 2 touchdowns. Still lose, but throws 2 touchdowns. Chargers, Raiders. I mean, at this point, Omari and Hampton. We're looking at Omari and Hampton, who outperformed, other than not having a touchdown, outperformed Genty last week. 15 rushes, 48 for Hampton, 19 rushes, 38 and a touchdown for Genty. I'm going to say Hampton outrushes Genty. No. We're going to say both running backs combined go for 300 rushing yards. All right, let's go all purpose. 300 all purpose yards. I think I like that. Both running backs combined, 300 all purpose. That's a pretty good hot take. But that's it for the hot take segment. Now we're going to look at some standings. Now, I took some pictures. Let me see if I can pull up my pictures real quick. All right. So this one is with my predictions this week. The Chargers would be the number 1 seed. The Bengals would be the number 2. The Bills would be the 3. The Colts would be the 4. The Broncos would be the 5. The Raiders would be the 6. And the Ravens would be the 7. And then on the NFC side, it would be Green Bay 1. So, I mean, with them winning, they're already on the right pace to make that happen. Philly 2, Niners 3, Bucks 4, Vikings 5, Rams 6, and Panthers 7th. And that's if my predictions go the way that I think they will. Then I also took a picture of where things are currently standing. It looks a little crazy, I'm not going to lie. The Colts are the number 1 seed. The Chargers are the 2. The Bills are the 3. Bengals are 4. Broncos 5. Raiders 6. Steelers 7. On the other side, this is including the Green Bay game tonight. Green Bay is the number 1. Philly 2. Bucks 3. Niners 4. Cardinals 5. Vikings 6 and Rams 7. So that is where things stack currently, right now, real time. But we're not done yet. The standings fun is not over because we have full season predictions. I got the Bills as the 1, Broncos is the 2, Ravens is the 3, Texans is the 4, Bengals at 5, Steelers at 6, and the Chiefs at 7. So obviously Colts, Raiders, Chargers, all teams that are currently in the playoffs, I'm kind of seeing falling out. Bucks number 1 seed in the NFC, Niners 2, Philly 3, Packers 4, Commanders 5, Lions 6, and Vikings 7. So the entire NFC West, except for the 49ers, ends up falling out in this prediction. But yeah, I mean, it checks out pretty good, I think. There's like 5 teams with 3 and less wins in the NFC, but then it goes straight from 3 to 8. Whereas the AFC is a gradual climb. It goes all the way up to goes 2 all the way up to 6, skip 7, 8, skip 9. But whereas last week, the NFC, I did my predictions, and the NFC teams in there with or I think it was the AFC. Yeah, the AFC had teams in there with less than 10 wins. Currently standing, they're all 7 will have at least 10 wins in the playoffs, which is cool. Which is cool. We love to see that. I think those are pretty solid standings right now. Fantasy football did not go well for me this week. It did not. Um, I mean, we'll look at. I won in my sleeper league. I only won in 2 out of like 13, something like that. 6, 5, 12. I only won 2 out of 12 leagues. So that is, I mean, if you want to listen to me, by all means. But this was not a. Also, remember, I have an all rookie league and all Bengals league, so those teams obviously did not do good. And there's some auto draft leagues and Yahoo Fantasy, so grain of salt's in there a little bit. But give me 1 second. So I'm still gonna start. I'm just gonna look at my sleeper team for this one. I'm still gonna start Baker. Derrick Henry won me the game last week. Legend. Chase Brown is still gonna be in there. Nico Collins. Now AJ Brown is still gonna be in there, but you'll see why in a little bit. Tyler Warren, pretty solid week. We'll keep him in there. James Conner, solid week. We'll keep him in there as well. Bill might move into a starting role because Austin Eckler just tore his Achilles. So that would be interesting on how I'll handle week 3. Because I mean, you really could just move Cortland Sutton over AJ Brown, and then move Bill in with James Conner. And obviously, still waiting on Chris Godwin. Calvin really dropped too many passes in week 1. I can't start him as accurate as Cam Ward was. I cannot do it. Not this week. Not yet. Josh Downs, not the favorite target for Daniel Jones, which is not great. Mm. So as you can see, my depth is not great at the moment. We're still waiting on Chris Godwin to return. When that happens, it's going to be AJ Brown is definitely going to be out of the starting lineup because I can't allow that to continue. But that's kind of one fantasy team I kind of wanted to look at there. Let's go player of the game. Let's talk about the Bengals game a little bit. So player of the game for me, I think I'm gonna go. Hold on, I need to see what else they contributed. Um, it's gonna end up being Jordan Battle. He had more tackles. He had a pass deflection. He had a pick. It was between him and DJ Turner. DJ Turner probably had the more important pick because his ended up winning us the game pretty much for sure. But Jordan Battles got us some momentum. We got a field goal. I'm pretty sure off of that. Pretty sure that was the field goal drive. Was right after his pick. So, and he had a lot more tackles than DJ Turner. So I think he's going to be the game player of the week. A little disappointed in the offense. Like I feel like they weren't dragging, like T and Jamar weren't dragging their feet like they normally would on the sideline. So a lot of those passes usually catches, but they'll get back on track with that. The O-line didn't play terrible. Obviously, the 3 sacks in a row was terrible, but I think they're doing good. The rookies have been very impressive. I'm very happy with the progress that they're making. Shamar Stewart had broken up a pass. It was called. It didn't go on his stats because of penalty, but that was a great play. Demetrius Knight was all over the place. He got nominated for Pepsi Zero Sugar Rookie of the Week. Burrow, 14-23 isn't bad, but we weren't sustaining drives, so it is bad. He only got sacked those 3 times, like the 3 times in a row, so keep that in mind as well. The running game, I think, could have been better, but the Browns' run D just, I think, it was kind of crazy. Receivers do need at least, we need at least one 50-yard receiver next week, or this week. Like, that's crazy. Noah Fant got his first touchdown, adding to Joe Burrow's resume of players that he's thrown a touchdown to. Money Mac made his only kick. Very impressed with that. Trey and BJ Hill both got 1 sack, but they split. Like, they got half credit for each sack. So they have 1 total, but they both combined for both those sacks. Logan Wilson was able to break up some passes. He had that diving one where he smacked the ball, and then the screen that he hit the ball way away from everything. Osai had some good pressure. CTB definitely he definitely did not have a great game. Um, Gave up some pretty significant passes, I want to say. And even I feel like our tackling was a little suspect at certain points, especially on those outside like dumps to the running back. Need to, secure those a bit better. And then we let that Fannin dude catch way too many passes. But yeah, I mean that's really it for the game. It was a pretty good game. I didn't watch. I'm gonna end up watching the Jaguars game from last week. Just do like a scouting kind of thing. It was against the Panthers, so I really don't know what to think of the Jaguars right now. But how did they did have 143 rushing yards, so we're gonna find out if we actually have run D this week. Like ETN's gonna test us there. Lawrence did throw a pick, and he only had 178 passing yards. So I mean, he did better than Burrow, but eh, better defense they're going to be coming up against this week. So at least I think and I hope. Travis Hunter had 8 targets, 6 catches, only 33 yards. So it'll be interesting how they use him. What about on defense? What do you do on defense? He's going to get more defensive reps in this one than offensive. Travis Hunter had 1 tackle, and that's it. He just logged an assist on a tackle. But I mean, that's pretty much it for this one. And obviously, next one's going to be a bit longer with the QB rankings going to be going in it. And I think we're going to have a little more to talk about it when we're going over like my predictions. We'll have another game on top of it. So these episodes will get a bit longer. They won't ever be as short as they were last year, where I was just pissed off and dropping like 5-minute episodes. Where I was just like, "Here's the stats. Here's my predictions. I'm done now. Goodbye." Yeah, no, yeah, we're done with those. But oh, you know what? Hold on. Injury report. Last thing we need to look at here. Injury report. Now, obviously, it's not fully out. We don't know who's in, who's out. If anything significant comes out, I'll make a short. Let's see. Injury reports. It's not showing ours. I do know Amarius Mims is limited. Can't remember what it's for though. Ankle maybe. Let me see if I can find the article. There we go. Yeah, ankle. He's limited the last 2 days. BJ Hill's getting a rest day. He was limited today. And then William Wagner, our long snapper, he has a hamstring issue, but he's been full practice. For the Jaguars, Monteric Brown has been limited the last 2 days with an ankle injury. And then they got 3 linemen on here. One has a knee issue, hasn't participated. The other 2 have been full participants, back and shoulder. And then Foye Aluakon got sick, so he didn't play on Thursday. But that is it there. We're going to end this one here. Hooray to all you Bengals fans out there. Can't wait to hope to celebrate a win this week. But we'll figure that out. Hooray to all you Bengals fans. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.